What if I told you the real secret to wealth isn't about how hard you hustle or how much you earn? Why do some people multiply money while others stay stuck? Here's the truth. Rich people don't think about money the way most people do. Their mindset flips the script, and that shift is what helps them win financially. In this video, you'll learn the 3 mindset shifts wealthy people use every day. 1. Money is a tool. 2. Why time beats cash. And 3. Why investing in yourself matters. By the end, you'll see money differently, and that change makes every financial strategy more effective. But before we get to those shifts, there's something we need to clear up first. The lie that keeps so many people working endlessly while still struggling with money. So, let's talk about that lie, the one we've all been told about wealth. It's the idea that if you simply work harder, climb the ladder, and increase your income, financial freedom will naturally follow. On the surface, it feels logical. But when you look closer, the evidence tells a different story. Take this for example. There are doctors and lawyers earning 6 figures who still live paycheck to paycheck. Meanwhile, a teacher or office worker with far less income manages to quietly build savings and even invest. If money alone determined financial success, those outcomes wouldn't make sense. But again and again, we see the same contradiction. Earning more doesn't automatically equal wealth. One of the clearest reasons is lifestyle inflation. Maybe you've lived it yourself. You finally get that raise, and almost immediately expenses grow to match it. There's the better car, the bigger place, the extra trips, the little luxuries you feel you've earned. Before long, your higher paycheck disappears just as fast as the old one. From the outside, it looks like progress, but inside, nothing has changed. Financial stress simply scales with your income. This is why working harder within the traditional path often feels like running on a treadmill. In the 9-to-5 world, every gain demands more hours, more energy, more of your time. Contrast that with someone who builds systems, an entrepreneur who creates income that continues even when they're not actively working. One person stays locked into the cycle of trading hours for dollars. The other learns how to step back, delegate, and let money work for them over time. That's a very different game built on a very different mindset. And the story doesn't stop there. Beyond paychecks and hours, culture shapes how we even think about money. You've probably heard the phrases, "Money doesn't grow on trees," or "Money is the root of all evil." They sound harmless, but they dig deep into the way people behave. If you believe that wanting more money is greedy or wrong, you'll subconsciously avoid choices that could actually improve your financial future. These old sayings turn into invisible barriers, chains that hold people back from pursuing opportunities they might otherwise take. That's why so many people stay stuck. They focus on effort, promotions, or bigger salaries, never realizing that the real problem isn't external. It's internal. The wealthy have learned something important. The first obstacle to building wealth isn't a lack of money, it's a broken relationship with it. Until that relationship shifts, strategies like saving or investing won't make much difference. So, here's where the turning point begins. The difference between struggle and growth comes down to perspective. This isn't about luck or income. It's about how you choose to see money and the role you let it play in your life. If you keep viewing it as something stressful or unattainable, it will always slip out of reach. But if you redefine it as neutral, as something that can be directed towards a purpose, you finally start to create space for freedom. And that leads us to the first real secret. Next, the first shift wealthy people use every single day. It doesn't start with how much they make, but how they think about money itself. What if the real problem isn't money itself, but the way you see it? Too many people attach emotions like fear, guilt, or resentment to money, and those feelings quietly shape their financial lives. Fear makes people cling to every dollar. Guilt makes them hesitate to want more, and resentment convinces them that money is unfair or out of reach. Over time, those emotions show up in choices, overspending, avoiding financial planning, or missing opportunities. And the cycle keeps repeating. Here's the shift. Money isn't your enemy. It isn't your savior. It's just a tool. By itself, it's neutral. Think of a hammer. A hammer can build a house or knock down a wall, but it only does what the person holding it decides. Money works exactly the same way. It magnifies what's already inside you. A generous person with money becomes more generous. A responsible saver with money gains more freedom. And a reckless spender with money ends up with even bigger problems. Money doesn't change who you are. It reveals you. The lottery example makes this simple to see. Picture someone who never managed their money suddenly winning millions. At first, it looks like everything is solved. But in just a few years, most lottery winners lose it all. Their patterns, overspending, lack of planning, debt, don't disappear, they expand. On the other hand, someone who tracks their expenses and saves steadily can turn even modest earnings into long-term wealth. It's not about the amount of money, it's about the person in control of it. And here's what makes this so tricky. Most of the time, what drives you isn't math, it's belief. Your hidden beliefs about money often decides what you do more than any spreadsheet will. If deep down you believe money is bad, or I'm just not the kind of person who gets rich, those thoughts win. You'll skip investing, drag your feet on high-value opportunities, or blow cash on short-term comforts because your mindset has already set the limits. That's why tools and strategies often go unused. Someone downloads a budgeting app but avoids it. Another reads an article about investing but never opens an account. The problem isn't the lack of knowledge or tools. It's the baggage attached to money. Imagine refusing to pick up a hammer because you think it's dangerous. You can't build anything if you won't use the tool. So, here's a quick exercise to test your own relationship with money. Say this sentence out loud and complete it with whatever comes to mind first. Money is pay attention to the word you used. If you hear yourself saying money is stressful, money is evil, or money is impossible to get, that one word reveals an emotional roadblock. The good news is once you notice it, you can start to shift it. When you stop projecting fear or judgment onto money and start treating it like a simple tool, the pressure erases. It stops being this shadow that controls every decision and becomes something you can direct towards goals that matter to you. That's when real progress begins. Not because the numbers change, but because your relationship with money did. And once you see money clearly, another truth comes into focus. Because if money is just a tool, you have to ask, what's the resources it's meant to protect? That's the next step. And it's the one thing wealthy people carefully guard above everything else: time. If wealth wasn't just about money, then what do the rich value even more? The answer is simple, but often overlooked: the hours in a day. Everyone is given the same 24, but the difference lies in how those hours are spent. Some people spend nearly all of them trading time for a paycheck, while others use their resources to buy back hours they can redirect towards higher value activities. That shift, not effort or luck, often decides who stays stuck and who multiplies their opportunities. Most people stay in the time for money trap. They exchange hours for dollars, and once they've used those hours, there's no way to get more. Wealthy people flip the equation. They ask questions like, how can I buy back time? The answer might be delegating, automating, or building systems and assets that generate income without demanding constant effort. With that shift, they stop being capped by the limits of their own schedule and start creating space where money works in the background. Here's a choice to think about. Say something in your home breaks. Do you spend an afternoon fixing it yourself and save $20? Or do you hire help, free up 2 hours, and use that time to complete work worth hundreds? Most people focus on cash and pick the first option. But wealthy people look at the return on hours, not just dollars, and often come out far ahead. It's one of the most practical differences in mindset. They see hours as the real currency. To make this idea useful, try an experiment today. Look at your week and pick one task you commonly do. Maybe cleaning, bookkeeping, or spending hours on errands. Ask yourself, can I outsource this for less than the value of my time? If the answer is yes, consider delegating it. Even reclaiming 1 or 2 hours opens up space for activities that yield far bigger returns. Whether that's learning a new skill, strengthening a relationship, or putting focused energy into a business or side project. This is why the wealthy often seem to grow while others plateau. Take an entrepreneur as an example. They might pay for someone else to handle scheduling, bookkeeping, or chores. That choice frees up hours to think strategically, nurture clients, or design new products. The tasks that actually move income upward. Meanwhile, someone holding tightly to their money may save a few dollars, but lose far more by locking their limited time into low-value work. Over months and years, that gap compounds. Another difference is how successful people deliberately use freed time for growth. Millionaires, research shows, often build time into their week to read, learn, or work with mentors. This isn't because they have spare hours lying around, but because they protect and allocate them. An hour reading each day won't change anything tonight, but over years it compounds into sharper judgment, broader perspective, and better decisions. Those qualities end up creating more wealth than working extra shifts ever could. All of this leads to one straightforward truth. You can replace lost money, but you cannot replace lost time. Every purchase, every choice, every hour spent is traded for something. Wealthy people are simply more conscious about the trade. They'd rather spend money to gain time than spend time just to save a little money. When you begin to see your hours as your most limited asset, priorities shift. Protecting and multiplying them become more important than cutting every cost. And that mindset opens the door to the next realization. The highest return doesn't always come from stocks or real estate. In fact, the greatest payoff begins somewhere far closer. The best investment you'll ever make isn't in the stock market, real estate, or even the next big business trend. It's in yourself. Wealthy people understand that the true competitive edge comes from continuous growth. Education, health, mindset, and relationships are all assets that compound over time, and the return they generate often outpace any financial investment. When you expand your skills and strengthen your capacity to create, your opportunities multiply. Contrast that with how most people spend. Many put large amounts of money into things that lose value immediately. Cars, clothes, gadgets. These provide short bursts of satisfaction, but from day one, they begin to depreciate. Wealthy people make the opposite choice. Instead of chasing status symbols, they deliberately invest in learning, mentorship, and networks. These aren't temporary thrills. They sharpen judgment, expand connections, and open doors to opportunities that last for years. There's a powerful example of how this works in practice. Someone deep in debt began with nothing more than free resources online. They studied budgeting, fixing their habits, and slowly built consistency. When they could, they invested small amounts into courses to sharpen their knowledge. Over time, that person didn't just clear debt. They built stability, started investing, and completely transformed their outlook on money. The real change wasn't their paycheck. It was the shift that happened because they invested in themselves. So how do you start? Keep it simple. Set aside at least 10 minutes a day to learn something practical about money, investing, or personal growth. That could mean reading an article, listening to a podcast, or watching an instructional video. Schedule it into your day so it becomes non-negotiable. Then, commit to putting even a small amount into yourself regularly. A book, a course, or a tool that improves your work. Don't wait for the perfect course or the perfect time. The habit of consistent self-investment matters far more than the amount. One of the most effective practices you can build alongside this is gratitude. Start a short gratitude list each day. Write down 2 or 3 things you already appreciate in your life. It might sound unrelated to money, but it shifts your perspective from scarcity to opportunity. When you stop focusing on what's missing and start noticing what's present, your decision-making changes. Instead of clinging to fear, you spot chances for growth. That mental reset is a foundation for long-term success. Of course, consistency is harder in practice than in theory. Doubt creeps in, old habits return, and you may wonder if small steps are even worth it. This is where most people give up. But here's the difference. You don't need massive breakthroughs to win. Small actions done consistently will outpace big efforts that happen once in a while. Doubt and resistance are normal. What matters is choosing to act anyway. As you build these habits, learning daily, investing something regularly, practicing gratitude, you're not just gaining knowledge. You're training yourself to think differently about money and opportunity. Over time, those interchanges show up in the outer world. You become more valuable at work, more confident with financial decisions, and more open to creating opportunities instead of waiting for them. This is why the wealthy treat personal growth as their primary investment. It's not about chasing a hidden formula. It's about strengthening the one engine that drives every result, yourself. When you change on the inside, money and opportunities tend to follow as a natural byproduct. This is the real secret. Wealth grows from the person you become, not just the assets you collect. And this brings us to the final point. Because when you put everything together, the way you see money, the way you protect your time, and the way you invest in yourself, it becomes clear that wealth isn't about shortcuts or luck. It's about a mindset shift that changes the way you approach everything you do. So, here's where it all comes together. Wealthy people focus on 3 simple but powerful shifts. They see money as a tool. They protect and multiply their time. And they consistently invest in themselves. These aren't tricks or shortcuts. They're choices anyone can start making today. Now, I want to hear from you. Comment below which shift you'll start with. Money is a tool, protecting your time, or investing in yourself. And share one limiting belief you're ready to let go. If this video helped you change the way you think, give it a like and subscribe for more practical mindset and money tips. Remember, building wealth isn't about secrets. It's about applying principles you already have the power to use.